So open up the spreadsheet application, create a new spreadsheet, and we're just going to start with a blank workbook. And what we're going to do is we want to add a number to cell A1, any particular number. So it's in cell A1. Then delete this number and replace it with a bigger number. So I'm actually going to get rid of 100 and make it into 200. Add a second number into cell A2. Move the number in cell A1 to cell A3. The easiest way to do this is to click and over the darker black line, hold and drag. Select the range A2 to A3. So in the very first cell that you want, click and hold and drag down. Move the range to B1. So we want to move this, again going around the square box till the mouse changes cursor. The mouse cursor changes slightly. We want to move that up to B1. If we go copy using this punch button here, we can copy that documentation and choose a new worksheet in the document. And again, we can paste where we want. So I'm going to paste again in B1. The range will go there. We also need to be able to copy this into new workbooks. So if we have a new workbook as previous, again we can just make sure that we copy through. It's good practice to check that the workbook is there. So here were the original two. Again, we can just check that we've got it copied. So selecting both, pressing copy, and in our new workbook we can paste it. So our very first workbook, which is this one, we go File, Save As, save it into your learner area. We're going to use the desktop. Test.xlsx and press enter, press save. And the second workbook that we made, same process, save, but this one we're going to call test2.xlsx and press save. We click on File, Options. We have our username here, which we can change. And we can also have the default save area. Drive. So we hit File, Open, find our learner drive. For us, it's on our desktop, and we're going to open up the Golf Excel sheet. We're going to have to overwrite this and save it as something new. So we're going to save this file to our learner drive using a new file named budget.xls. So we're going to go File, Save As, and we're going to change it to budget.xlsx in the same area in our learner drive, and hit save. Switch back to test.xlsx, which is down at the bottom, and open the help function within the program, which is the small circular question mark. We need assistance. We don't actually need that now. What we are asked to do is restore and minimize the ribbon. So we have a small button here that will get rid of it, taking it away, and if we press it again, it will show our ribbon with all our toolbars. We can now close test.xlsx, which is the red button at the top here. We're now, for question 6, in budget.xlsx. We need to find the costings worksheet. The worksheets are displayed down the bottom, and we are already in costings. And we need to zoom the display to 100%. Two choices here. We can either move the slider bar till we get to 100, or we can click on the actual percentage button and we can choose some given options or do a custom option ensuring that it's 100. Question 7, we need to find column A, which is this column here, and when this column, and then we need to widen this column so we can see all the information within. So we simply hover over between the A and the B section on the line, and we'll see that the mouse changes, the cursor changes, and we double click and that'll widen. It's good practice to notice for question 8 the layout that it's done. Costs and money are separated into very clear different columns containing things, and then next to one another nice and neatly. For question 8 we need to select A3, which is where expected revenue is worded, and we also then need to select cells A3 to E3. So holding the mouse down, selecting A3 to E3. If we now hold down the control key, we can then hover over B7, and whilst holding the mouse down and the control button we can go all the way down to E11. If we wanted to actually select the entire worksheet, the very top left button here between A and 1 at the diagonal, we click that, that will select absolutely everything in the worksheet. So in column A, 15 all the way down to 18. And we want to format this range with a fill colour of our choice. We won't waste time, we can simply just choose the very first colour that comes up. Question to use the undo command to remove this colour. Located at the top here, the back button, just click that and it will undo. And if we did want to put it back, if we wanted to redo it, the button to the side is the redo button, and that will take back to the colours. Question 11. We need to use the search command to find the word glazing, and use the replace function to change this to glass. So to do that, we're looking in the home button on the ribbon. We're going to go find and select. We're going to find the word glazing.
Yeah.
You're going to find, but what we actually want to do, rather than just finding words, we actually specifically want to replace that, and we want to replace the word glazing with glass. So if we go find next, we'll find the first one that Excel has, and that is the one that we want to change. So we're going to go replace, and we're going to close that down. So if we find column D and row 8, it currently says 400, we want to change it to 600. The easiest way is to simply type over the top and hit enter. There's also some missing data. We need to enter 1600 in cell D11. Again, clicking on the cell and entering the number off your keyboard. We now want to save our spreadsheet, keeping the same file name, budget.xlsx. So we simply go File and go Save. Continuing using the costings worksheet, we need to find cell D12, which is here. We need to enter a function to calculate the sum of the cell range D7 to D11. And we're asking here to be creating an actual function using the sum feature. So to do that, in our formula toolbar at the top, we begin with the symbol equals, and we want to do a sum, S-U-M. We open up our bracket, and at this point we want to include the actual cell references, not the specific numbers that's in them. So we're asking to sum D7, which is here. So we click the very first cell that we're looking for, D7, and whilst continuing to hold, scroll down until you get to D11. You'll notice in the formula bar it's there, and we can now close our bracket and hit enter. We want to find cell F7, which is here, and this formula is taking E7, which is the heating and cooling costs, and we're dividing that by the total costs for this particular column. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to make this an absolute cell reference so we can have accurate copying. So we always want to have our total costs as our constant cell reference, our absolute cell reference. So it's good practice to do a dollar sign in front of not only the column but also the number of the row that relates to, and press enter. Now this hasn't changed. However, for question 16 we need to now copy this formula so it also then includes F8, 9, 10 and 11. So the simplest way to do that is select the cell that you're in, and if you hover over the bottom right hand side you'll notice that the cursor changes. Simply dragging down will then populate all the rest of the cells, and by looking in them you'll always see that although part of the formula will change based on the row that you're in, you'll notice that the total is always our absolute cell formula. Select range F7 to F11, and we need to format the range as a percentage with 2 decimal places. So in the Home tab on the ribbon we have a format option. Bottom we've got format cells, and what we want to do, we want to change that to a percentage, and we want to ensure that it is 2 decimal places. Press OK. We have 2 cells, E7 and E8. E7 is here and E8 is here, and they have 2 different ways of summing the range. In E7 they've simply had the plus B7 plus C7 plus D7, whilst in E8 we've used the sum formula and then selected the range that we want to look at. Which of the 2 cells, E7 or E8, displays good practice in summing a cell range? Well, it's E8 which has the better way of summing, and we're going to enter E8 and press enter. We need to save your spreadsheet at this point. So we're going to select row 6, and in the Home button, Home tab along the ribbon, we can insert, that'll put a whole new line in, moving costs into A7. We also want to insert a new column between A and B, so we can select column B and go insert. We now need to delete both row 6 and the new column B so the sheet returns to how it was. So to do this, again we select row 6, which was our new one, and we go delete, and we select the new column B, and again we click delete. So at the bottom here we've got our worksheets. We can add a new one, and we need to rename it test. So to do this we right click, we choose rename, and we're going to call that test. Right click and click on move or copy, create a copy, and press OK. You'll notice it's over here, but we actually want to slightly change the name of this, so again we right click, rename, and we're going to overwrite it as test 2. We now want to move both of these worksheets to the very left and delete them. Well, test 2 is already on the very left of our worksheets, but the original test isn't, so we click on the worksheet and clicking and holding simply drag to the very left hand side, both of them there. Finally we need to delete both of these new worksheets, so we right click and press delete for both. We're going to put in B15, we're going to have our 2 numbers, one's in B3, one's in B12. So in B15, in the formula bar, so maths equals sum, open up a bracket, B12 minus B3, close our bracket. Notice that they're coloured, pressing enter, and we have our maximum cost. Again, in our formula bar, equals max. Can't remember. From B7 to B11, close our bracket, and our maximum is saying 8,000, which it is. At this point you might notice a small green triangle. That's just saying there's an inconsistency in the formula from one to the other, but we don't need to worry about that at the moment. In B17, for question 23, we need to enter a function to show the minimum cost from cell range B7 to B11, and very similar, equals min, open up our bracket, B7 to B11, close our bracket, press enter, and the minimum is 300. And again, just as before, equals average B7 to B11, close that bracket and press enter. You'll notice as you're doing different formula, if you do an equals sign and you begin to type different letters, you'll have lots of different options for things that Excel can do in terms of maths. So if you're unsure of one that you haven't come across before, starting with the first letter normally gives you the options. So just as before, in our formula bar, equals average, open up our bracket, A14 to A17 and close our bracket. You'll notice here that we have an error, a div divided by 0 error, so something is wrong with our formula. In the help button, if you click it, there's lots and lots of different bits of assistance that you can get. If you type in error and press enter, you'll get lots of different information about types of error, and you can go into them and find out what they are. We don't need any of the contents in cell 18. We're asked to delete it, so using the keyboard, just press delete. We need to enter a function that will display the text yes if the number in cell B15 is greater than 0, and display the text no if it is not. So to do that, in our formula bar, we do an equals if and open up our bracket, and we are choosing B15 is greater than 0. So if B15, and we're going to use the greater than sign, 0. We're then going to do a comma, and we'll notice here it's now giving us two options, value if true and value if false. We want it to display the words yes if it is true, so we use, we type in yes, and if we want it as a no, another bracket, and we'll notice that it's changed to the value if false, and again speech marks to no, and close our bracket and hit enter. And you'll notice in this case B15, which is 7,700, is greater than 0, so it's saying yes. We now want to change this function so it says yes if the number in cell B15 is actually equal to 0. So we don't need to retype all of that. We can go back into it, and rather than having the greater sign, we can delete that part and change it to equals and press enter. And now it's changed to no, because 7,700 does not equal 0. Rather than having the equals or the greater than, we can take this out and do the less than sign and press enter. And again, the answer 7,700 is not less than 0, so we get the no. We now need to save our spreadsheet. We need to find cell range B3 to E13. We need to format the range as currency with no decimal places. This button here in the Home tab on the ribbon, we're going to go Format Cells. We're going to change it to currency, and we don't want any decimal places at all. So we're going to press the little button down 2 times until it comes up to 0 and press enter. We're going to find the donation for question 29, which is at the bottom. We're going to find the cell range A2 to C135. So A2 starting with Anna Hill and all the way down to C135. We're simply clicking and holding and dragging down until we reach row 135. We need to sort this range by amount in smallest to largest order. So over in the Home tab on the ribbon, we have the sort and filter function. Custom sort. Lots of different options here. We're only going to do one single sort. We're going to sort by amount in smallest to largest. So the amount is in column C, and we have notice here my data has headings. We actually want to take this out because the data we've chosen doesn't have a heading, and we're going to sort by column C based on smallest to largest and press OK, and they will all change. We're going to have a footer. We're going to go to Insert, Header and Footer.
Bottom right.
Bottom right, get sheet name.
And then sheet name.
Normal. I'm going to freeze row 1 of a donations worksheet. In donations, from the view button, click on freeze, freeze first, freeze top row. I'll keep the top row frozen. Find the sheet 3 worksheet, which is here. Rename this worksheet as ages. So as before, right click, rename ages. So A1 to D1. From the Home tab, we have Merge and Center. We're going to click on the columns. We're going to go Format in Chart Tools. We're going to change the field colour to a colour of our choice and click off. We're going to add data value labels to our chart now. So we click on the chart. Again, in the Chart Tools, we've got a layout option, and we're going to add data labels, and we're going to add just some outside end data labels. We now need to save our spreadsheet. At the bottom here, we need to create a column chart from the cell range A2 to B6. So we select and hold with our mouse A2 and B6, and on the insert function we can have ourselves a column chart, and we can simply just choose the very first chart. 37. We're going to enter our own name into the left section of the header of the funding worksheet only. So just as before, we're going to go to Insert, Header and Footer. We're going to scroll to the left hand side at Header. We're going to enter our name. We're then going to click back onto the view, and we're going to go back to the normal view. We're going to print one copy of the funding worksheet. So we're going to go File, Print, and we're going to just make sure that it's one copy of our funding worksheet and press Print. And we're going to now save and close our worksheet. Exit. We saved, now we're going to exit. We need to open a file called Members. So we can go into our work files and double click on Members, or alternatively, as before, we can go to our spreadsheet document, File, Open, and in your Learner Drive, File Members. We need to go to the New Members worksheet, and we need to change the top and bottom margins to 2.5. So page layout, margins, custom margins, and we're going to change those both at the top and the bottom to 2.5 and press OK. We're going to find cell B42. We're going to enter a function to count the new members. So the numbers of new members, we're going to go equals count, and we're going to choose count A. And count A will count any column, any cell that isn't empty. So we're going to choose which ones are populated with people's names from B4 to B40. If you notice, for all the highlighted names there, press enter, we've got 37. We're going to save our spreadsheet. I'm going to exit. Number 41, normal way of opening. We're going to open Scoreboard from our Learner Drive. We're going to save this spreadsheet in template format as scores to our Learner Drive. I'm going to save in template format. Save as. and we're going to save that specifically as a template format, an Excel template, and we're going to make sure that we are saving that in our learner drive, and it will change the default location. So we're just going to make sure that we go back to where our work files are and save it. We're going to close all files and the spreadsheet application. We're going to open up for number 42. The normal way, we're going to open charts.xlsx from our learner area. We're going to format cells B2 to B6. We're going to format them to do decimal places, including a separator. So from the Home tab in the ribbon, format cells, and we want this to be a number that is 2 decimal places, but it does have the comma separator. And press OK. We're again going to get cells C2 to C6. We want these to be shown as dates. So again, format cells, this time to date. Press OK. We're going to format cells D2 to D6 as a percentage. Again, format cells, percentage, but this time with 0 decimal places. And finally, we're going to format E2 to E6 to show currency. Again, format cells, currency. We're going to make sure that it's for pound. Other options, but we want the pound. 43, we're going to change the font type and size in cells A1 to E1. So we're going to select A1 to E1. We want to change the font to Arial. So we just scroll through ours. They're in alphabetical, apart from at the top where they're most used. And then we want to change the size to size 15. If you don't have the size option, just highlight in the area and type in the size that you want. We're now going to copy this formatting to cells A2 to A6. So we're going to select one of them on the Format Painter, and we're going to hold down the other bits of information and they're changed. We then want to find cells E2 to E6. We want them to be bold, italic and underlined. So in the font options, we could go into the actual area to choose lots of different things, but there are some quite quick, handy tools. We want bold, we want italic, and we want underlined. And if you notice to the right hand side there is a small drop down arrow. If we click it, we want a single underline for these. However, cell A8, which is this cell here, we actually want to be double underlined. So again, we have a double underline function on the drop down menu. 44, we want to change cell A8 to wrap the text. To do that, we're going to choose A8 and we're going to hit wrap text. We're going to change cells A1 to E1 to adjust for cell alignment. I'm going to go for centered. I'm going to merge and center cells A10 to E10. So to do that, we have a merge and center button that we click. We also then want to add a color border around it. We're going to format cells. We're going to choose border. We're going to have a particular border that we want, an outline in this case, and we can choose a particular color that we're after for this outline. Notice if you choose a different color, you then have to click outline again to change it. So I'm going to go back to a yellow outline. Okay. 5. We're going to create a chart column to show golfer names and hours practiced, which are columns A and B. So we're going to select columns A and B. And what I'm going to do to make this next series nice and clear, I'm just going to open up all of these so I can read them clearly. I'm going to have A and B. I'm going to insert a column chart. I'm going to go on the first one, and you notice columns A and B are selected. I want to create a second chart, this time a pie chart of columns A and B. To do this for the second time round, again, I'm going to select the same information. I'm going to insert, but this time I'm going to go for a pie chart. I've got a pie chart, which I'll just move to the side so you can see. I'm going to have a third chart, which is a bar chart. This time I'm showing the golfer name and the success. So to do this, I select the golfer name, but I then hold down the control button and then select the percentage success. When I've got them two selected, I can let go of control, and I'm going to, again, as I did before, go to insert, and this time I'm going to choose a bar chart of my choice. I'm going to move it just to the side. Finally, I'm going to make a fourth chart, this time a line, to show the golfer names and the money won. Again, I shall be choosing the golfer names, holding down control, the money won, inserting a line chart, and choosing a particular line chart. This will be, select my pie chart made and move it to the side and increase its size. So I'm going to pick my chart, I can move it right to the very edge, and to increase the size I can just go to the corner. I can in fact go to any corner, but it's good practice to go to the bottom right, and I can simply hold with my mouse button and drag to make it bigger. I can also then change that to a different style of chart. Simply by going up here I can change my chart type, and I could pick any particular chart that I wanted and press OK. I might need to change the title, so I simply graph here, I can select the title and I'm going to change it to Golfer Money. And again, I want to add some data labels, so I'm going to click so all of them are selected. Be careful not to click on just one. Good practice here is just clicking just behind on the graph first time round so they all collect. And again, I'm going to go to Layout, Data Labels, and I'm going to show them. I want to change the chart area background colour and the legend fill colours. To change the background colour, I select the chart, I go Format, and I can change my fill colour. To change the legend fill colours, and here again I change my fill colour, like so. I can change my column, bar, line, pie, slice colours, so this works for any particular graph. Again, you simply select, and on the shape fill you can change the colours that you wish. You could actually individually change it one at a time, just ensuring that only one is selected, changing that particular colour as you so wish. But again, if you wanted all, we now are going to add a chart axes title, the X and Y columns axes. So we're going to select our graph, we're going to go to Layout, I'm going to choose an axes title, my primary horizontal below, and while I'm there I'm going to change my primary vertical to a rotated title, and I can give them a name. So this at the bottom here is my golfer name, and at the side is money won. Finally, I'm going to change the font style and size of the text in the title and the axes again to Arial 15, so I can select with my mouse the words on the home page, again choosing the font that I want. I'm looking for Arial and I'm looking for 15. Again, if it's not there I can simply overwrite the number and press enter. And again, I'm going to do that for my axes, selecting Arial 15, enter, and again selecting all content here, Arial 15, and enter. I'm now going to go to the Charts XLSX worksheet. So we can custom change their margins. We can do that holding down the control button, so both are selected. We can go to the page layout, the margins, and we can choose custom margins. And when we're there, we can change lots of different things. We're looking for 1 inch at the top, so we can just go down until it gets to 1. You might want to overwrite that if it doesn't give you the option that you're after. And we want that actually for the left, the right, and the bottom. And when you're happy with that, just press OK. We're going to change the orientation to landscape. Again, in the page layout button, we can change the orientation to landscape, and you'll notice both are still selected, so this is applying to both worksheets. We're going to change the paper size to one of our choice. To do this, we choose the size option, and we can pick any particular paper. I'm going to choose an executive. We're going to add a header called Charts and a footer with our name on it. So from here, we're going to go over and go Insert, Header and Footer, Charts. And I'm then going to switch to the footer, and I'm going to include my name, but I'm also going to include the page number, where I can click on page number here and just click somewhere else off, and we go make sure we're on view and normal. Is that one? Page setup here in the print option, and this will give us options what to do. We want the worksheet on 1 page, but we want it by 2 pages tall, and we're going to press OK. We can just come back out to the sheet. We're going to do a spell check. Again, we have the ABC at the top here. If you don't, we've got ourselves the review button and spelling. We can click that and change anything that we feel appropriate to be completed. Now in our original one, we actually find that cell A8 has an error. Now it's quite subtle, but we know it because there's a small green arrow over the top. And this is our error. And we'll notice it's an error because it's actually trying to add up a letter and a number. We've been asked to make this sum up to 5, so we're going to change D to the number 3, and adding to 2 will equal 5, and our error would have now gone. So I'm going to zoom back out. It's always good practice at this point to check on your worksheet to see if there are any other errors in any of the information that you've got. We're going to turn off our grid lines. We're going to go to View. We'll notice here that we've got grid lines, and we've also got headings when viewing the document. So we can click the grid lines off, and we can click the headlines off, and now they're completely gone as we're using. We can also turn these back on for now. When we come to printing, when we go to print, we can go to page setup, I think, and we can print grid lines if we wish, and we can also print our row and column headings if we wish. Number 52, we're going to have a print preview of our worksheet. From the File menu, Print, we have an option of print preview, which is here. If we want to print the entire worksheet, from the file menu, when we do go to print, we have options where we can print the entire worksheet here, and we can click print. If there were given cells, for example cell A1 to E6, we select A1 to E6 and again file, print, but this time rather than the entire workbook, if we hover over and click on print selection, our A1 to E6 will be highlighted. Finally, we can print multiple copies by clicking the print. We have an option for however many copies of the charts that we're after.